a girl with a physical disability who faced rejection from everyone. In her short life, she dedicated herself to God. Today's curiosities are about Saint Germana Cousin. Here are 10 facts about her. 10. Life of humility. Saint Germana Cousin, born in 1579 in a small French village called Pibrac, is a remarkable example of humility and devotion amid adversity. From the start of her life, Germana faced significant challenges. She was born with physical deformities, including an atrophied arm, and suffered from scrofula, a disease that causes lesions on the skin and bones, which at the time was poorly understood and feared. Due to these conditions, Germana was marginalized by her own family and the local community. Her suffering and social exclusion were evident, but she did not let this distance her from her faith and devotion. On the contrary, Saint Germana used her difficulties to deepen her spiritual life and help others, even in her difficult situation. She worked as a shepherdess and devoted her time to serving those in need. Her life of humility and charity left an indelible mark on those around her. Germana lived with deep faith and unwavering kindness, which made her admired and respected, even by those who initially rejected her. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any curiosities about the saints. 9. The miracle of the flowers. One of the most remarkable miracles associated with Saint Germana is the so-called miracle of the flowers. This event illustrates not only the purity and holiness of Germana's life but also divine intervention in her life. The story takes place during a harsh winter in the small village of Pibrac, where Germana lived. Her stepmother, distrustful and resentful of the young girl due to her physical condition and marginalized social status, suspected that Germana was carrying something illicit in her apron. In her mind, Germana was carrying stolen bread to satiate her hunger. However, when the stepmother opened the apron, instead of finding bread, she saw fresh flowers falling to the ground. This event was extraordinary because, given the season and the region's weather conditions, it was impossible for flowers to be present. The miracle of the flowers was interpreted as a clear sign of Germana's holiness and divine protection over her. The event served to confirm Germana's purity and honesty, disproving the accusations of theft that had been made against her. This miracle not only changed the community's perception of Germana but also reinforced the belief in her devotion and special relationship with God. 8. Devotion to the Eucharist. Saint Germana's devotion to the Eucharist. Saint Germana's devotion to the Eucharist is a deeply significant aspect of her spiritual life. Even amidst hardships and a lack of formal education, Germana demonstrated an exceptional faith and love for the Blessed Sacrament. For Germana, the Eucharist was not just a religious ritual but a vital source of spiritual sustenance and connection with God. She understood the profound value of the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist, and this understanding transcended any educational limitations she might have had. Her devotion manifested in constant and fervent participation in Mass, evidencing her sincere desire to be in communion with God. Even with her daily responsibilities as a shepherdess, Germana did not allow these tasks to distance her from her religious practices. She entrusted her sheep not only to human care but also to divine protection. This gesture reflected her belief that God and the angels would take care of her responsibilities while she dedicated herself to worship and receiving the Eucharist. Leave your prayer request in the comments below so that Saint Germana may intercede for you before God. 7. Life of prayer and contemplation. Saint Germana's life was marked by a profound and constant practice of prayer and contemplation. Despite living isolated in the fields and facing adverse conditions, she dedicated her time to an intense and intimate life of prayer, which became a central feature of her spirituality. In her solitude, Germana found prayer to be a way of connecting directly with God and the Virgin Mary. She cultivated a personal and deep relationship with Jesus and Mary, treating them as if she were speaking with them face to face. This intimate spiritual contact not only provided comfort and strength in her difficulties but also nourished her unshakable faith. Germana spent long hours in contemplation, meditating on God's presence and divine grace in her life. Her isolation in the fields did not separate her from God. On the contrary, it became a sacred space where she could devote herself to prayer without distractions. Her life of prayer was characterized by simplicity and sincerity, reflecting her profound devotion and love for God. 6. Symbol of perseverance and faith. Saint Germana is a symbol of perseverance and faith, especially noted for her ability to face intense suffering with an attitude of joy and serenity. Her life was marked by significant physical and emotional hardships, yet she faced them with courage and faith that continue to inspire today. From childhood, Germana dealt with a series of adversities, including physical deformities and illnesses that led her to be rejected by her own family and community. Despite these challenges, she maintained a posture of humility and resilience. Her suffering, rather than discouraging her, became a means through which she offered God a spiritual sacrifice, transforming her tribulations into an expression of devotion and love. Her ability to respond to mistreatment with kindness is a testament to her deep spirituality and commitment to virtue. Rather than allowing hostility and suffering to dishearten her, Germana chose to treat others with kindness and patience. This loving response to the challenges and injustices she faced reflects her understanding that suffering can be a way of deepening one's union with Christ. Germana offered her suffering as a spiritual sacrifice, believing that her trials were an opportunity to grow in faith and strengthen her bond with God. 5. Miracle of the Courbet River. The miracle of the Courbet River is one of the most remarkable events in Saint Germana's life, impressively illustrating divine intervention and reinforcing her holiness. This miracle is often compared to the biblical event of the Red Sea, where Moses led the Israelites through the waters that miraculously parted. It is said that at a time of great need, Germana needed to cross the Courbet River, which was swollen and raging due to heavy rains. The river, in full flood, posed a significant danger and seemed impossible for anyone to cross without being swept away by the current. However, Germana, fully trusting in divine protection, stepped toward the river with unwavering faith. Miraculously, the waters of the river parted as she approached, creating a safe path through the current. She was able to cross the river without difficulty, demonstrating not only her trust in God but also the presence of divine intervention in her life. 4. Testimonies of Miracles. During the process of canonization of Saint Germana, numerous testimonies of miracles attributed to her were collected and documented, offering significant evidence of her sanctity and divine intervention in her life. These testimonies included a variety of supernatural events and inexplicable healings, which served to confirm Germana's holiness and her ability to intercede on behalf of the faithful. Among the documented miracles, many accounts spoke of surprising physical healings and events that defied natural explanations. People who sought Saint Germana's intercession reported recovery from serious illnesses, relief from suffering, and even the resolution of personal and spiritual problems through her intercession. The cures attributed to her were often described as instantaneous and complete, increasing the faith of those who witnessed these events. In addition to physical healings, other miracles included supernatural events that could not be explained by natural means. These miracles helped to reinforce the perception of Germana as a figure of great holiness and spiritual power, evidencing her closeness to God and her role as an effective intercessor. The canonization process involved collecting these testimonies and conducting rigorous investigations to verify the authenticity of the miracles. The quantity and quality of the evidence presented were crucial to the official recognition of Germana's holiness by the Catholic Church. 3. Patron of the Humiliated and Excluded. Saint Germana is venerated as the patroness of the humiliated and excluded, especially children and young people who face mistreatment or are marginalized due to their appearance or physical condition. Her life, marked by significant physical and emotional suffering, made her an emblematic figure of acceptance and resilience in the face of adversity. Born with deformities and affected by diseases that isolated her from society, Germana lived a life of extreme humility and rejection. Despite her challenging circumstances and the hostility she faced, she remained firm in her faith and showed a remarkable capacity to forgive and love others. Her experiences of marginalization made her a powerful intercessor for those who face similar situations. Devotion to Saint Germana as the patroness of the oppressed reflects her deep impact on those who feel the weight of social exclusion and suffering. She is seen as a source of hope and inspiration for those who are unjustly treated or face difficulties due to their personal conditions. The life of Saint Germana offers an example of dignity and strength, showing that, even in the most difficult conditions, it is possible to find and offer love and compassion. 2. Incorruptibility of the body. Saint Germana Cousin passed away in 1601, at the age of 22. Her death was as humble as her life. Germana was found in her improvised bed, a simple wooden pallet in the stable of her father's house. Despite the difficult conditions she lived in, Germana faced her death with the same serenity and faith that characterized her short life. After her death, Germana was buried without much ceremony in the local church cemetery in Pibrac, France. However, her holiness soon began to be recognized by the faithful. Decades after her death, in 1644, her body was exhumed and found incorrupt, which was considered a sign of her purity and closeness to God. This miraculous event marked the beginning of a popular devotion to Germana, which continued to grow and eventually led to her canonization. The body of Saint Germana Cousin is preserved in the Church of Saint Jacques, located in Pibrac, a small village in France. 1. Delayed canonization. Saint Germana Cousin was canonized on May 7, 1867, by Pope Pius IX. The canonization officially recognized the Catholic Church's acknowledgement of her life of holiness and the miracles attributed to her intercession, after more than 2 centuries of popular devotion and accounts of miracles associated with her. In the early years after her death, Saint Germana did not receive immediate formal recognition, but her life of virtue and the reports of miracles attributed to her began to attract the attention of the faithful. Devotion to Saint Germana slowly grew, with many testimonies of her intercession and miracles spreading throughout the region where she lived and beyond. The liturgical day dedicated to Saint Germana is June 15. We have reached the end of another story filled with fascinating facts. Don't forget to leave in the comments any curiosities about which saint you would like to see here on the channel. And until the next story.